So the big picture for this lesson is perfect squares and square roots. A perfect square is formed when you take a whole number and multiply it by itself. For example, 3 times 3 equals 9. That is a perfect square. 9 is a perfect square. Another way to write 3 times 3 with exponents is 3 squared equals 9. So that is why 9 is called a perfect square. A square root is the opposite of squaring. So the square root of 9 equals 3, because 3 times 3 is 9. The square root of 16 equals 4, because 4 times 4 is 16. So what do you suppose the square root of 25 is? That's right, 5. Okay, now, there are such things as negative square roots. So for example, the negative square root of 36 equals negative 6. You do the square root first, the 6 times 6, and then you make it negative. But the square root of negative numbers is not defined in the real number system, because you can't take two real numbers and multiply them together to make negative 36. Because negative 6 times negative 6 equals 36. So there's your problem. You can use square roots to solve equations. Let's say you have an equation like this, x squared equals 25. Well, basically it's asking what number times itself will equal 25. And you can solve this by taking square roots. But there is an issue. There are actually two solutions for this equation, because 5 times 5 is 25. We already said that. But negative 5 times negative 5 is also equal to positive 25. So when you solve by doing a square root, you have to do both positive and negative values to account for the fact that there are two solutions. So the square root of x squared equals positive or negative square root of 25. See, that makes you count both solutions. Then when you simplify this, the square root of x squared is simply x, and that equals plus or minus the square root of 25. And square root of 25 is 5, so x equals plus or minus 5. So why is the square root of x squared equal to x? Well, let's look at an example. Just based on our first example, the square root of 9 is the same thing as the square root of 3 squared. So the square root is the opposite of squaring. So basically, you square, then you square root. It's like back and forth, and you end up where you started, with a 3. So that's the big picture for this lesson.